Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to give a small speech about why I support the 51st State Initiative and why I think you should support the 51st State Initiative. I'm Caleb Lowe. I'm a resident of Eastern Colorado in one of the counties that is going to be, hopefully part of this. Even though it just got voted down this last time, there's still a concerted effort to go towards this. So I'm going to give my reasons why I think we should continue down that path. First and foremost, I would think that the extra costs that are being placed on rural Colorado should be a consideration for everybody. This last year, the Colorado State Senate passed a bill that put extra restrictions on the co-ops, energy co-ops out here, that they have to do further standards towards renewable energy. And while I work in the renewable energy field, I don't feel that this is fair, because it's a burden that was put on rural Colorado that was not shared by the metropolitan areas, all right, and their utilities. So basically, these places with a lot of population that push the vote for this aren't the ones that are going to have to deal with it, and I don't think that's fair, and I would hope that you don't think that's fair. So I think that is a big reason that you should not be able to do it. Basically, as I've stated, is they want renewable energy standards for the power in Colorado, and this one was specifically geared towards rural areas, giving us a bunch of extra cost, and then they're exempt from it. That is not fair, and how can you vote something in and then not have to answer for it yourself? I think another one that I don't think is very good for us is regulations for the oil fields. This last year in Colorado Senate, they passed a 1,000-foot setback rule for drilling. And the only reason for this was politically. There really was no safety concerns. There was no environmental concerns for these. In the past, they've had 150, 350 rules, other rules for hospitals and stuff like that. And it hasn't been an issue, other than normal stuff. So why the 1,000 foot all of a sudden? And it's just some politically backed person decided they wanted it, and they forced it through lobbyists, and it happened. And there was never really any discussion. It was just jammed through. To me, that is incredibly just bad politics. If you give me a reason, I would love to hear it, and I would love to have a discussion about it. But one was not given. It was just done, and now there's many communities that are going to lose millions because of this, because placement of wells is going to put them outside of certain jurisdictions, and you're not going to be able to collect tax money on them. Another thing is that where some of these wells are, if you're wanting to build the community out around them, you're going to have this huge space around them for no other reason than this law, where it hasn't been an issue in the past, and it's going to be extra cost, giving this space. So, that is another reason why I believe that these bureaucrats in these heavily populated areas are passing these rules, not thinking about how it affects the small community, because they're not part of the small rural community. And how can they know what's best for us if they're not even going to try to listen to us and talk to us? They didn't talk to us about the electrical co-op thing. They didn't talk to us about this. They just decided they wanted to do it and did it. Another part is our transportation fees and taxes. And this year, much taxes are going to be collected from the rural areas and the oil and gas industry out here, and it's going to go to the legislative, and they decided they're going to do about $650 million towards roads. right? Well, of all that money, most of which is collected out here in the rural part of the state, only out of that 650 million, only about 50 million of it is going to come back this direction. Most of that is already earmarked for an I-25 project that's going to take a part of that road that's already existing and turn it into a toll lane. So it's going to be further costs for the people out here on a road that already exists and is being used by people out here. So that is messed up to me. So what is left is like $6 million, and none of that's for new construction for areas that need it. It's just kind of basic maintenance for that whole area of the state out here. And the other $600 million is being used up in the heavily populated parts of the state. And, they're collecting all the money from us, and we're not getting any of it back. So if that's going to happen, why don't we just, become our own state? We collect our own money, we spend it on us, and, it solves many of these issues. And lastly, I know that some people don't agree with this, but guns are a big part of the culture in rural areas. They really are. With hunting, people do trap shooting. People just like to shoot. Okay, we haven't had any problems. We don't have any problems out here. Yes, there's gun violence out there. Most of it's in the urban areas. Most of these urban areas already have laws against it. Denver has pretty strict laws about gun control. Colorado Springs does. Now Aurora does. Out here in the rural areas, we don't have much problem with this. Guns are, out there in a lot of households. Why do we need these new gun control laws out there? I have a huge problem with this. I know many people do. We've had 2 recall elections because of this. There's a 3rd one in progress, and while I support these recall efforts, the fact is that these populated areas are still, overwhelming the rest of the state's population in votes, and it's just going to happen again in the future. So I don't see why the rural part of the state shouldn't become its own state, control its own laws, so that they know what their area wants, they know what they can control. Why not have them do it? I think that's more than fair. If Denver and Boulder want to have laws against gun control, that's fine. That's their choice. It's their area. Let them do it. Why do we have to kowtow to them, though? We have laws here that they don't need, and they have laws there that we don't need. I don't have a problem with them having it there, but that can be their own laws. Why can't we have our own state and have our own laws that are for us? I know I'm kind of rambling here. I'm sorry. And in conclusion, I would just like to thank you for listening to me. I'd just like you to think about with these laws out there, whether you agree with them or not, do you think it's right that the cities with their massive population can control the vote and force issues out here that are not really issues out here? We haven't had a problem with the oil field standoffs. We haven't had a problem with our electrical co-ops. We're already kind of going into more renewable energy. I know it's probably not as fast as they would like, but it's expensive, and less population means less money. Is going to be hard. And then what money we do raise in taxes, they're taking to the cities to spend on their roads, and we're not getting any of it back, or very little of it back, which I also mentioned and don't disagree with. And then finally, I just want to remind the point that the gun issue hasn't been really an issue out here. People hunt, they have safety. Yes, there are crazy people out there. For the most part, they aren't here in the rural areas, though. So, and I would personally argue that these new gun control laws would not really affect them anyways, because if you're crazy and you want to get a gun, you can get a gun legally or illegally. It doesn't matter. Thank you for listening to me. Next year, election, please just think about these things if this is on the ballot again. Thank you, and have a good night.